This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. The European Commission is tweaking its new tariffs on imported Chinese-made EVs. It lowered the maximum tariff to 36.3%, a nearly 2% drop, and also lowered the rate for several individual companies. Chinese brands like BYD, Geely, and SAIC saw minimal changes of less than 1 to 2%, while non-Chinese brands got much bigger breaks. Cupra, which is part of VW, saw its tariff on the Tavascan drop over 16% to 21.3%, and Tesla's dropped to just 9%, which is down from almost 21%. The reason Tesla saw such a big change is because the European Commission ruled that it received less subsidies from the Chinese government compared to other EVs made in China. But there is hope for the other companies to see rates reduced even more. The EU is still investigating how much those subsidies really benefit automakers, and the final tariff won't be determined until early November, at which time they'll likely lock in for 5 years. What's more, the Commission said that some Chinese companies that have joint ventures with EU automakers may get lower duties on their EV imports. However, the EU is still worried about the impact Chinese-made EVs could have on the European auto industry, so they're not likely to go away. And remember, the Chinese-made EV tariffs are on top of the already existing 10% tariff on all cars imported to the EU. General Motors is laying off more than 1,000 software workers globally. Most of the cuts will be in the U.S. at its tech center in Warren, Michigan. It's letting go of 600 employees there. In a memo to workers viewed by Automotive News, GM said it's making the cuts to enable it to, quote, move faster, pivot when needed, and prioritize investing in what will have the greatest impact. Over the last several years, GM has been expanding its software team to help with its electrification and autonomous efforts because it believes those services can generate $25 billion a year in revenue by 2030. The UAW is threatening to go on strike against Stellantis, accusing the automaker of backtracking on agreements made in their new labor contract. Last February, Stellantis idled its plant in Belvidere, Illinois. But during last year's negotiations, it agreed to reopen the plant in 2027 and build a new midsize pickup there. It also agreed to open a Mopar distribution hub at the site this year and open a stamping operation at the plant in 2025. But the UAW claims that Stellantis told the union the projects won't happen on the agreed-upon timeline. So, in order to get the automaker to stick with the original deal, the union says 7 local chapters are prepared to file grievances against Stellantis and that it's also prepared to strike if necessary. The automaker released a statement confirming that it is delaying plans for the Belvidere plant, but says it's still committed to reopening it, and it rejected the union's claim that it violated their labor agreement and says it can't legally go on strike. Waymo finally showed off its brand new 6th-generation Robotaxi, which is the first model to come from its partnership with Geely. The model is based on a Zeekr van, but also features 13 cameras, 4 LiDAR, and 6 radar, which the company says provides a view all around the vehicle up to 500 meters away. It's able to work at day or night and in a range of weather conditions. Waymo says the new system is cheaper than the previous version, while providing more resolution, range, compute power, and capabilities. The company has already been testing the new vehicle and says it has thousands of miles in real-world driving and millions more in simulation. But no word on its official launch yet.
Intrepid's NeoVi Pi, allowing automotive engineers to interface, capture, and monitor vehicle data using Raspberry Pi. As a matter of fact, it's the automotive industry's first robust platform for Raspberry Pi, featuring Intrepid CAN-FD technology and Raspberry Pi compute module. The NeoVi Pi is designed for automotive environments, allowing use with relative power ranges and applications. In addition, the NeoVi Pi enables you to use the Raspberry Pi for compute while avoiding additional development to adapt to network environments. That makes the NeoVi Pi powerful enough to solve your vehicle network problems, yet small enough to fit in your backpack. One of many intrepid tools used for developing zonal architecture and software-defined vehicles.
The Hyundai Group is now the second best EV maker in the U.S., reaching 10% market share through the first 7 months of the year. Tesla is still number one, but its share of the U.S. market fell below 50% for the first time in the second quarter. The Hyundai Group is ahead of Ford at 7.4% market share and GM at 6.3%. Sales of Hyundai's EVs at all three brands are up so far this year, and several new models are on their way. Genesis especially is expanding quickly. It's gone from a single dealership in the U.S. 2 years ago to 56 standalone stores, even adding 21 dedicated retailers this year. The group is investing billions to make EVs in the U.S., including a brand new plant in Georgia, which means more models will soon qualify for the full $7,500 EV tax credit. While other giant tech companies have struggled to bust into the automotive industry, China's Huawei seems to be having some success. It already has several Chinese partners, and its automotive division, Yingwang, just got a big investment from Avatar, which is a joint venture between Chang'an, CATL, and Huawei. Avatar is buying a 10% stake in Yingwang for $1.6 billion, which brought Yingwang's total valuation to $16 billion. The deal is said to help strengthen their partnership and will make sure Avatar always has Huawei's latest technology. GM is launching the Durant Guild in China, which will import many of its iconic nameplates that are mostly built in North America. While these vehicles won't add much to GM's overall sales numbers in China, which have been cut in half over the last 7 years, they will help bring in more revenue. It's going to offer models like Corvette, Escalade, and Celestiq, and it just opened its first store in Shanghai and launched its first model, the Chevy Tahoe. While a base Tahoe starts at about $56,000 in the US, the Durant Guild will only offer two versions, the Classic, which starts at about $91,000, and the High Country, which starts at roughly $101,000. Is the Mercedes S-Class no longer seen as one of the pinnacles of luxury? According to data from Mark Lines, in the first half of the year, S-Class sales were down 13% in China, 19% in the US, and 27% in Europe. So in response, Mercedes is reducing production to one shift for the first time ever. The S-Class is built at Mercedes Factory 56 in Germany and has been made on at least two shifts since the factory opened 4 years ago. The plant also builds the electric EQS as well as Maybach and AMG models. Mercedes will refresh the S-Class next year, so demand could pick back up with the new model. And that brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for making Autoline a part of your day.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering boost your game. MEDC, where Michigan businesses are powering the future of mobility. And by Teijin Automotive Technologies, the formula for better mobility.
Knowing that when it's time to unplug, your tires were built to get you to the place you recharge. That's what really matters. Bridgestone Turanza EV tires with a 50,000-mile limited warranty.
When we did our research for the talent that we need for this program, Michigan was really the top of the list. In order to be successful in this space, you really have to have the right people, the right mindset, the right environment.
There's nothing wrong with heavy metal.
Hey, lighten up.
But with world-class composite material, Teijin Automotive Technologies makes vehicles lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly.